Welcome to the Zen Wanderlust Travel channel. If you're on YouTube, if you are broadcasting or watching our broadcast from Facebook, it's the Zen Wanderlust Travel Facebook fan page. And you are in for a delight. Again, I am Dr. Nicole Montero, Chief Creator here at Zen Wanderlust Travel, where we encourage you to travel the world, find yourself, and live your purpose. And today we are going to talk about the Madagascar experience. It's a whole experience that you just have to learn about. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody, if you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel or to the Facebook page, please go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like, give us a thumbs up. And if you love our content, please share the video. So today I have a special guest that we've been trying to connect for months. She actually just got back a few days ago from Madagascar. So I'm just so honored that she would even wake up this early to be able to talk to me and share with you all the Madagascar experience. This is a sister that I've known for years. We were just talking about how we met back in DC, Washington, DC, through African dance. We've been in different cities, but at the same cities at different times. Mm-hmm. So New York City, Philadelphia, but we didn't always overlap, but we were together in the Washington, D.C. area. Mm-hmm. And I have Sister Miyubi Rabayarason. Yes. And part of what you're going to hear about is the pronunciation of words and names and the Malagasy language. We were just chatting about that. So you see me looking over here at my notes. I told Miyubi I was going to say her last name correctly. Let's do it one more time.
Okay. Rabe Arison.
Rabe Arison. I just love it. Miyubi Rabe Arison. Okay. And Miyubi is a multifaceted woman. She's a dancer. She's a real estate sort of broker. And she is, most importantly, what we're going to talk about today, the owner of an ecotourism company called the Madagascar Experience. Mm-hmm. She curates experiences and travel to her home country of Madagascar. And I feel like this is a place that you don't really hear people talking a lot about. You certainly don't have a lot of people running travel tourism companies to Madagascar who know the country in and out, mm-hmm. who know the history, who know the different islands, the different parts of it. So you are in for a real treat. And Miyubi is going to tell us about herself, about why Madagascar needs to be on your travel bucket list, mm-hmm. and why you need to do it with her. I was just so fascinated when we were talking, and she was explaining to me how much thought and planning goes into how she curates a trip. Mm-hmm. It's really individualized for the person or the group. Mm-hmm. So everything from how you're going to get there, what you're going to see, what the best routes are, the time of day that you go, how to incorporate every part of the travel into the transformative experience, mm-hmm. that she's helping to plan for you. So rest assured, if you go to Madagascar, it's not like hopping on a plane and going to the Bahamas or somewhere really quickly. But from what I'm hearing, I haven't been yet, but I'm certainly planning. How you are going to feel afterwards is going to be amazing. It certainly sounds like transformative travel. So once again, welcome to Zen Wanderlust Travel. I'm Dr. Nicole Montero, and I'm here with my friend, Sister Miyubi, and we're going to talk about the Madagascar experience. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Miyubi? Tell us sort of, I noted that you're a multifaceted, multi-talented woman. Just kind of give us a snapshot of who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Yes. It's been like a number of years that we've been months that we've been talking about getting together and doing this. So I'm finally happy to be here, or happy to finally be here. And everything that you said, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a really tall glass.
But it's true. It's all true.
Wait a minute. If it's not all that, do people have to get a refund policy? No, I'm just kidding.
It will be all that. I can guarantee.
It will. Every time. So First of all, just a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Madagascar. Born in Madagascar, and then moved out of Madagascar because my parents were diplomats. So I lived in all these different spaces, finally ended up in America for college and kind of stayed here and found my home in America in Brooklyn because I feel like I love Brooklyn. It's an eclectic city and it still has that vibe of immigrants, people coming to here. So in my neighborhood, I appreciate the fact that there's Haitian ladies, little old Haitian ladies selling like cinnamon sticks and stuff like that. And it reminds me of home and having access to stuff that naturally comes out the ground. Like everything's not in super plastic inside a store, or you don't know where it's from. You know, they'll tell you the story. Oh, this comes from this part of Haiti and you use it for this. So I always appreciate that, you know, getting stuff naturally. So the Madagascar experience actually was born from me sort of researching myself. As I said, I moved from Madagascar when I was younger, like about 5 or so. And we didn't really speak Malagasy at home. We spoke English and then the countries that we lived in mostly was like in West Africa in my formative years.
Okay.
Right. So it was like French on the outside, English at home, and I went to English speaking schools. So when I was old enough, I was like, well, I really want to know more about myself. So that kind of started me traveling all over Madagascar. And as I was traveling, I actually didn't speak Malagasy. Not very much. Just like, thank you. And, you know, where's the bathroom? And that's right. So I had to, and that was embarrassing because there's this whole joke amongst Malagasy people, like about people who leave home and forget the mother tongue. They come back brand new, right? I said, well, I don't want to be one of those people. And I understood Malagasy, so I could hear like people making fun of me, but I couldn't. Oh, they're like, as Malagasy as she is, she's pretending like she doesn't know. I'm like, no, really, my mouth muscles just aren't used to doing it. So I said, well, this is not going to be me. And I brought children's books, and I would take a picture of them page by page and send them to my mom, and we would read them together, and she would kind of correct me.
Wow.
Right. So with that love or quest for self, I made it part of my mission that every time I would go home, I would go to a place I hadn't been before. Or let's say I'd been to an area generally in 1 year, I would come back and look specifically in the space. And the more and more I did that and were sharing my experiences, the more people were saying, well, next time you do that, let me know. I want to come with you. Right. And especially because of the diversity in Madagascar. Okay, so I'll say why I love going back home. I love going back home because of how much people live in tandem with nature, and how much people use nature to heal themselves. So when we're here, you know, I'm here in Brooklyn. It's like all the electromagnetic radiation.
Yes.
You know, and all
Wi-Fi and
exactly, and all that stuff calcifies your pineal gland, and your pineal gland is kind of your access metaphysical stuff. It's like access to this dimensional reality. So all these things like the fake foods, too much salt, too much sugar, and we're having to flavor our food so much because, you know, when you go to the grocery store, sometimes a pepper or green pepper tastes the same sort of as a cucumber. No, it doesn't.
All blended together now, right?
Right. It's not like such a distinct taste. Not everywhere, because there's still good farmers markets and stuff like that. So I take the opportunity, and that's why one of the things that I talk about in the Madagascar experience is redefining luxury. Like, what is luxury really? Some people,
is it the 5-star hotel, or is it being able to really connect to nature and our natural sort of state of being?
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, and in that connection to nature, it's certain things that we take for granted, like that we need to survive. Clean air,
Mhm.
clean water, knowing where our food sources are from, and being able to take the time to relax. Like one of the big mottos in Madagascar, which is
Mhm.
sometimes frustrating to people, is muramur, which
Mhm.
means slowly, slowly.
Mura Mura. Okay.
Everything is mura mura. You're at the
Uh-huh.
post office for 45 minutes trying to get a stamp, wondering why is it taking 45 minutes to get a
Uh-huh.
stamp?
Uh-huh.
Because that's kind of the way it is. So
Uh-huh.
you learn that and you say, next time I come to the post office, I'm buying like 50 stamps. So I don't have to be online for 45 minutes for one stamp, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just adapting to that. But the humanity in that is you get to take your time to eat. There are certain towns like in the South where everything closes down from
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
12 to 2 because it's too hot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you know, it's the same thing in Western Africa. It's like,
Yes.
no, you come home, you eat a proper lunch with family, you get to even take a nap.
Yeah, you rest. You're not rushing to see what you can do next, right?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things that they say, like, wow, when I say, you know, I live in America, they're like, oh, the rhythm of life there is very hard. And I say,
Mm.
yeah, it is. You
They
know,
feel sorry for you.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly about that
Uh-huh.
rhythm of life. It's like, oh my gosh. And I tell them, I said, yeah, sometimes when I was working in offices, I was eating at the computer. They couldn't
Mm.
even fathom, like, what do you mean you eat at the computer?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So it's those kind of things because, like, time, health, because you can
Mhm.
have all the money in the world, all the yachts, all the caviar, all the Cartier watches in the world. But if you don't have your health, how are you going to enjoy it?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So those are right. Like
That's
the
sort of why you, so why don't, I mean, that's fascinating that sort of what took you back to Madagascar and helped you to sort of bring other people started with a quest to reconnect with yourself in your roots and understanding the gift that is your native country. So why don't you back up, and for people who don't even know, they may have
Mhm.
heard, there was that little cartoon movie,
Uh-huh.
Madagascar. That might be the only thing people know. Tell us where Madagascar is, tell us sort of the history. And I've read up on it. Madagascar sort of was like 80 million years ago, sort of broke off from the main
Mainland.
continent of Africa. But tell us where Madagascar is and tell us about it for people who don't know.
Okay, so Madagascar is the world's fifth biggest island on the southeast coast of
Hmm.
Africa,
Hmm.
right there across from Mozambique and underneath Ethiopia.
Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh. And about it, okay, so in terms of the cartoon, whenever people tell me that, I'm like, yes, that, but remember, there are no lions and there are no zebras. That's
Uh-huh.
like on the continental side.
Uh-huh.
They came, in the cartoon, they came because they came from the Bronx Zoo, and then, but what is native to Madagascar in there are lemurs. So
Oh.
yeah, so the little lemurs, the little I like to move it guy.
Yeah, yes. Uh-huh. So that's a real, okay, so they got
That's
that
a real
right.
thing,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Indigenous to Madagascar,
Mhm.
actually. Yeah. What else is there to say? I mean, I could tell you about like the flora and fauna, and maybe in that sense, sort of draw a parallel to the culture. So
Mm.
there are like over 800 species that are indigenous to Madagascar. You can
Wow.
find them nowhere else. Um, for example, I always use the example of baobabs because people are familiar with baobabs.
Uh-huh.
Of the 8 species in the world, 6 of them are indigenous to Madagascar.
Wow. Wow. That's
Right.
powerful. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so the people are that way too, like
Mhm.
the diversity of people and cultures
Mhm.
that way as well. Add to the fact that where Madagascar is placed during maritime days, you could get anywhere from Madagascar.
Mhm.
Like, if you ever played the game, it's a terrible analogy, but the game War, where you're trying to like get as many countries as possible.
Mhm. Mhm.
You always wanted to get Madagascar, because from there you could take your pieces anywhere.
Oh, okay. So it was sort of a point where if you were coming from the Arab world or East Africa or coming from West Africa and needing to go, it
Exactly.
was a central place.
Asia,
Uh-huh,
everywhere. It was,
uh-huh.
it was an easy access route. And because of that, Madagascar has even had in the 1800s a Hungarian queen.
Really? So how did that happen?
The details of the story, I need to like refresh
Uh-huh,
myself
uh-huh.
on. But yeah, she came there and just kind of installed herself, and Malagasy people were like, okay, I guess you're like a diplomat here, but
Uh-huh.
that wasn't the case. She was actually like a queen, or she called herself a queen of there, of
Okay. Okay.
Madagascar at
Okay.
that time. That didn't last very long.
Yeah, yeah. But you mentioned the diversity of the people. So the people, would you say like Malagasy people, or like how would you describe the people, Malagasy people?
Wow. The diversity, same way as in the Caribbean, the
Mm-hmm.
diversity of who you will call a Jamaican or who you will
Mm.
call a Trini is the
Uh-huh.
same way.
You have Chinese descendant and the East Indian descendant, African descendant,
Exactly.
indigenous descendant. Mm-hmm.
Right. Portuguese,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
French, Hungarian,
Mm.
yeah, all of it. So
Okay.
they're very, very mixed, depend on which coast.
Okay.
The
Okay.
original Malagasy people are called Vazimba people.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why we can say they're the original Malagasy people is those are the oldest sculptures that we'll have that sort of depict the phenotypes.
Okay.
The phenotype is not as clear as the height. Apparently,
Mm.
Vazimba people were like 5 feet tall or something like that. Like really,
Okay. So
yeah.
they're kind of a tiny, small in stature.
Right,
Uh-huh,
exactly.
uh-huh,
Uh-huh.
uh-huh, uh-huh, yeah.
Mhm.
And you were telling me when we were chatting earlier, you were kind of giving an analogy to help that maybe can help people who aren't familiar with Madagascar understand. So you were describing in terms of the history, sort
Mhm.
of the Haitian Dominican divide.
Mhm.
And could you tell us how that applies to Madagascar and the similarities you see?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've made it a point to seek out spaces that recognize and celebrate their, hey, Taryn, celebrate their African origin.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
That has been really fundamental to me because I definitely consider myself a Pan African.
mhm,
And that's not to say I don't celebrate other people, but I'm going to celebrate myself,
mhm,
you
mhm.
know,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
first, right, first and foremost. So as such, I've definitely selected spaces, places, and experiences, curated experiences that celebrate Pan-Africanism.
Okay, okay.
Having said all that, now to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that goes on in Madagascar, colonization was horrible, and the effects of it and what we're still having to unearth right now, and bring to the surface and heal. And some of the healing that Madagascar has to do is much akin to the healing that needs to happen on the land of Dominican Republic and Haiti.
Mhm,
It's the
mhm.
same land, but there's a clear divide.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying that this is everybody, but in general, historically, we've known that Haitians embrace more their African heritage,
Mhm,
as Dominicans don't.
mhm,
And so
mhm.
please, Dominicans, don't get mad at me.
We're speaking in generalities. We're not we know
Right,
that there are differences and nuances. We're speaking
exactly.
historically, yes.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So the same thing exists in Madagascar.
Mhm,
And it can even be as subtle as in one space, one geographical region, let's say the South. There'll be one part of the South that
mm,
it doesn't recognize and will tell you straight up that we are Asian. That's it. And to which I
mm.
always, and then there's another part that says, well, obviously we're African.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh,
we're African but mixed. That's what
uh-huh,
they say. We're
uh-huh.
African but we're mixed.
Mhm,
And so to the people, my argument always with people, or not argument, but what I would like people to consider who say that Madagascar is predominantly Asiatic, I'm just like, just look at the map,
Mm.
you can see where Madagascar was once just attached to continental Africa. So
Uh-huh.
you mean to tell me that this little Mozambique canal is not as close to us, or what is across the Mozambique Canal is not closer to us than what is a whole Indian Ocean away,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? And they'll just
Yes.
be like, yeah, no, 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 we're Asian. I'm like, okay.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, it's fascinating. Everybody who's watching, please get out your maps so you can kind of see what she's talking about. And I just did a little research just in terms of the geological history. Like you said, that landmass was part of the African continent, and it shows you sort of how ancient and how original the people of Madagascar are. And so in some ways that means they're like the original Africans, right? So it's interesting for you to talk about sort of the role of colonization in
Yes.
people's ideas of their identity.
Right. And this is the thing, is like, even myself, actually, when I was in Philly, I
Uh-huh.
never heard this expression because I'm not from America, but I've learned a lot about being here.
Uh-huh.
People used to call me Blasian. And I was like, what is Blasian? Like Black and Asian.
They're
Like,
trying to catch your look and see what they
right.
think of you. Uh-huh.
What is Blasian? Black and Asian. I'm like, no, 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 not Asian. I was like, I don't look Asian. Asians look like me.
That's
Right.
powerful. Say that again.
Yes, I don't look Asian.
Mhm.
Asians look like me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Based
Uh-huh.
on our migratory patterns, and particularly if you're talking about before the plate tectonic shift and where things went,
Mhm.
we went from in to out. It didn't go
Uh-huh.
out to in.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
I always bring that up to even people with PhDs, and they just get very frustrated with me, like, "Who is this
Mm.
little girl?"
No, and you really know. I mean, you I've always known that about you, that you have a strong sense of self, and I think what you're speaking to is the diversity of African people and African descendants, and that there's no, people think of it as a phenotype or one way and one culture, and it's not. And if you look, just hearing you talk about it, you can see, like you said, this is where humankind started, in that part of the world. And
Cradle.
so, Madagascar represents a really important part of that migratory pattern.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was
Mhm.
that something that your parents sort of instilled in you? That strong?
No, I don't know how I turned out the way that I did, actually. I think it's because I traveled to other places when I was
Mhm.
young, so it really
Uh-huh.
opened my eyes up,
Mhm.
and I went to, West Africa, and I was, there's certain things that were so familiar to what was
Yes.
Madagascar too, and like everywhere I went in Africa,
Uh-huh.
actually. And then seeing a stark contrast, like it being in Budapest, Hungary, shortly
Mm.
after the Berlin Wall came down.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it was just
The
like a
Cold War period.
post-communist, yeah, kind
Yeah.
of situation that I was in there, and how they saw difference.
Mhm.
My difference, I had Jewish friends who, I was in high school there, so I had Jewish friends who, when neo-Nazis, because the neo-Nazis, the country went through this whole socialist, this is so tangential.
No, but it's important. Uh-huh.
Right, this whole socialist upheaval wherein franchises like McDonald's and stuff were coming into the country, and where people used to be able to spend $5 at a restaurant and get a drink, an appetizer, a main course, and dessert,
Mhm.
their $5 could only get them a Big Mac at McDonald's.
Mm.
So the price of life, the cost of living just went up exponentially,
Uh-huh.
from communism to post-communism, and people associated these changes with difference. So,
You representing something that brought these negative economic.
right, because there's not many brown people there.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
I'm visibly so different. So then being in that kind of environment as well sort of like shaped my understanding of my own identity. right? And then coming to America and
Oh
that whole
gosh.
thing, you know, exploding. But the thing about being in America, which I will call like the new world, is that without the experiences in the new world, myself seeking myself would
Mhm.
have been possible. I don't
Mm.
think it would have encouraged it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same way that all these movements that were happening in America is what also inspired the movements that were happening for independence in Africa in the
Yeah, yeah.
1960s.
I want to kind of highlight that. Thank you so much for saying that. And I want to
Mhm.
repeat that for anyone who's watching, because I think a lot of times, especially people who feel like they're Pan-Africanists and they're trying to reconnect to their roots,
Mhm.
they don't necessarily appreciate how their own struggles and development of their identity has influenced others around the world. And
Yeah,
that's important, to have a sense of pride and dignity that
absolutely.
they have been able to positively, like there was a time in the 60s and 70s when, you know, the struggles of Blacks in America and the anti-colonialist struggles throughout Africa, there was a connection.
Right.
And that's so important, because now it feels like everyone is kind of breaking off into their own little groups, like, you know, I'm a descendant of this, and like we don't see the big picture, that
Mhm.
we're all connected and there's a place for all of us. So it's just amazing. I think it's important for people to hear you talk about your identity journey,
Mhm.
which includes, you know, where you were born, where you were raised, and then the part of coming here to the US and then also reconnecting to back home. I
Right.
think it's just, yeah. Have you written your book yet? I think it would be a fascinating.
You know what? I always say this. I'm like, well, when I can no longer dance and I'm on a rocking chair,
Uh-huh,
having a cigar and maybe rum, then
uh-huh,
I will write in that way.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah. So right now I'm sort of like carving space through like travel
Mhm,
and
mhm.
getting back into some things with dance and choreography and telling stories that way. But I
Okay.
definitely do need to write down these things because cultural and so yeah, cultural relativity is always so interesting to me.
Mm,
You know,
mhm, mhm,
um, I wonder what images mean in different places because
mhm.
images have a history associated with them, and everybody's history in different spaces is different.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I think this is why coming to Madagascar is having people come to Madagascar is
Mhm,
important for me because I want there to be this Pan African diasporic dialogue,
mhm, mm.
and am honored to serve as the bridge to facilitate that process.
Wow.
So, one, we can talk about cultural idioms, but the other point, which I think I want to move towards now,
Mm,
is the economics of it. I
mhm.
want more people of African descent to invest in Africa,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
right? So whatever it is, if you were getting, if you have a little crystal shop, for example, and you were getting most of your stuff sourced from Asia,
Mhm.
Asia doesn't have all those crystals. They have jade. Okay. I mean,
Wow. And Madagascar has like
oh my God. What? There are places that where you drive for like, let's say a 6 hour stretch where it's
mm,
nothing but red clay and rose quartz encased in it.
okay,
When
okay.
you have to stop to use the bathroom, there's rose quartz everywhere. You just
Wow.
pick up a rose quartz.
Uh-huh.
Me, because I don't just like to take stuff,
Mhm.
just like a store. You would never imagine to go to the store and just, take your plantain chips and go without giving something
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
for it. So it's the same way when I'm out in nature, whenever I take something, I leave something behind.
Mm.
Even if it's a little bit of money, I'll fold it and put it under a rock. And I say
Uh-huh.
to myself, the people who work this land,
Well,
someone's going to walk by and find
mhm,
it and pick it up.
mhm, mhm,
They
mhm.
deserve it because they
Yeah.
work it.
Yeah, yeah. That's really powerful. So you were talking about respect for the land, for the people, the culture, but you're also talking about, it sounds like, economic relationships that can benefit both. And I
Right.
don't think, what are some other opportunities? People need to hear this because you're
Mhm.
right. People will automatically think about China or Asia, but what are some other opportunities that would be available in Madagascar?
Oh, the list is long.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So one is semi-precious stones. You want to
Mhm,
talk about quartz, rose quartz. I'm looking in my apartment for my different stones, labradorite, amethyst. Listen, we have a whole place of just sapphires. It's like the land of sapphires. And a couple of years ago, it was made illegal to take out more than 60 kilos of sapphire a year. That's to
mhm.
tell you how much it is. Of course, you know, Indian merchants, they pay the government or whoever at the port enough to not look too closely at whatever is being transported in these barrels and ship it to India. And as a matter of fact, Tiffany's and De Beers get most of their sapphire from Madagascar via
Really?
India.
Wow.
Exactly.
And they're making a killing.
They're making a
Yeah.
killing because the people who are out there working and it's everything is done manually.
Mhm,
We haven't really gotten into like machine digging. I don't even know what machine digging looks like. I just
mhm.
know what it is in Madagascar, where people are lowered into these deep, deep holes to go get sapphire.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes the land around them collapses and they
Mhm.
end up getting lost looking for sapphire, and they will come out with the most beautiful sapphires and just get paid like $1 or something like that for it, or like 50 cents. So I think Peace says, she's like, that's my birthstone. Yes, come to Madagascar. We give you right from the ground.
Uh-huh.
And so being able, so I feel like with a Pan-African agenda or a diasporan agenda, like we're going to feel for our people because we've
Mhm,
been through similar struggles. So
mhm, mhm.
not that we're going to be exorbitant with the prices of things, but we want to make sure that the guy who risked his life to go down into the
Yes.
sea, that his family can.
Compensated. Uh-huh.
Right, exactly. So if the going market might be $1 for it, maybe we say I can afford to give you five because I want your family to continue and for this to be able to sustain you and not
Mhm.
just exploit you. So that's been kind of, I'm moving into doing more of those projects and doing projects where inviting business people in
Mm,
to
mhm,
see
mhm.
what there is
Yes,
to invest in.
yes.
Sapphires is one thing. Ylang-ylang.
Oh, yes. That I remember that growing up. My grandmother was so into herbs and ylang ylang has so many properties as a flower or a
Yeah,
plant. Mhm, mhm,
it's like really good for your skin. It just does a whole bunch of stuff, which I need
mhm,
to like look at to really be able to tell you. But it's really, really good for your skin.
mhm.
I brought back ylang-ylang, patchouli, and this thing
Mm,
called palmarosa, and I
okay.
mix them together inside my shea butter. Like I whipped my own shea butter.
Okay.
It helps my skin. That's really what I use. I
Oh,
use shea butter. I don't use anything else because
uh-huh,
other oils they have like ability to clog. Like even
uh-huh,
my favorites, like cocoa butter,
uh-huh,
um,
uh-huh.
it kind of clogs your pores, and I noticed it on mine. So it might be different for other people,
And
but
she has amazing skin, everyone. You might not be able to see from that camera, but yeah.
well, thank you. Yeah, is fresh air,
Mhm.
clean water, and eating stuff that comes out the ground.
And muri muri, right? Like take your time. What is
Yeah,
it? What did you say the
exactly.
phrase is? Muri muri?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Taking your time with
Uh-huh.
things.
Not stressing out over life. Mhm.
Right. I might
Mhm.
look different in a month because I'm back here into the hustle and bustle of
The concrete jungle, as
yeah,
they say.
exactly.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
I still try to take care and maintain because like I
Mhm.
feel like that is part of what is luxury is
Yeah.
to be able to take care of yourself,
Yes. Yes.
and not just always rush.
And that's an important conversation for I'm so into that for women of color.
Yes.
So it sounds like there's so many appeals for coming to Madagascar. I wanted people to kind of walk away from this understanding or having an idea of like why they should go to Madagascar. So
Mm.
you've kind of given us some different reasons, what about people? You mentioned that you're into dance, and we met through African dance, West African dance, and
Mhm.
you have a master's in dance,
Yes. Mhm.
dance education or dance. What about people who are really into the cultural arts? What will they get, or what will they experience in Madagascar?
Oh, that is a pretty long list.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
would say I say everything is a long list. There's so many things. I mean, and even the investment list, like
Mhm.
just to go back to that for a
Yeah.
second, please, I'm gonna put my email inside the chat and the
Yes.
website so you can contact me there. But I can let you know all the different kind of investment opportunities. So let me just do that really quickly. There's
Yes. Yes.
essential oils. There's vanilla. Some of the best vanilla in the world comes from Madagascar.
Wow. Which is an aphrodisiac.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
So go ahead.
Yeah, actually, give me your address. I'm going to send you some.
Okay. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
I'll send you some in the mail. Vanilla, there's also chocolate. Some of the world's best chocolate comes from Madagascar. Oh, and in terms of the ylang-ylang, people don't know, but a lot of big houses like Chanel
Mm-hmm.
exclusively uses ylang-ylang from Madagascar.
Wow, you're kidding me. So you have De Beers, you have Tiffany's, and you have Chanel that kind of are hooked into the
Right.
secrets
And
of Madagascar.
it's crocodile skin hides
Okay.
from Madagascar.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are so many different investment opportunities. Right now, what people are going crazy digging for in Madagascar is cobalt.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So cobalt is what makes all of this technology work. Without cobalt, none of it would work.
Uh-huh.
That's one. And then this other thing, I forget what's the name of it, but it's the white stuff in the things we use. The white stuff in toothpaste, in soaps, in different solvents.
Okay.
I forget what was the name of it, but it is a huge business. They're
Uh-huh.
digging it up like crazy.
I want to look at it.
I
Mhm.
ran into people from all parts of Africa digging it up in the south of Madagascar.
Really? Okay, I
Yeah.
want to look it up and see. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I forget exactly what was the
Mhm.
name of it. But so there are so many different investment opportunities in Madagascar. If you have a small boutique shop, also just hit me up and see
Uh-huh.
what you can do, because I also like to work that way where and the opportunities that I have, or that I would like to offer rather, that I would like to offer are not on a huge scale. I
Okay.
would rather work with, like, for example, a family that has a ylang-ylang farm, which I'm in
Okay.
contact with, a family that does sapphire mining, but
Mhm.
not people that are already plugged into like a huge
Yeah.
superstructure. So it would be really on a more artisanal level.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
I think is what you're saying, because when you talk about the Madagascar experience, it's not a corporate experience. It's not sort of a, cookie cutter.
Exactly.
You're talking about making sure you maintain the authenticity and the purity, even as you open up these business experiences.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. If I'm going to be a bridge, that's the kind of thing I would like to
Mhm.
help people establish.
Is it Micah? No.
It's not mica. It's
Okay.
another thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up, and then
Okay.
I'll post it with, or I'll put it in the comment with the YouTube, so
Okay.
you can
Okay.
see what that is.
Yes.
So in terms of the cultural aspect now, e- everywhere in Madagascar, north, south, east, west, and center, even linguistically, people from the different regions sometimes don't understand each other,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
even though it's still Malagasy, because everybody has like a dialect, a regional
Yes.
dialect.
Mm-hmm.
There is standard Malagasy in the capital, much in the same way there's, like, more standard patois or creoles in
Uh-huh.
different
I
areas.
know you go to the little sort of different towns,
Exactly.
different dialect
It,
develop.
it adapts. Yeah,
Mhm.
language adapts to area and circumstance. So, for example, in the South, everybody says salam
Uh-huh.
to say hello. Everywhere,
Uh-huh.
salama, salama, salam. In the North, it's mbulatsar, which
Ah.
all is good.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And
Yeah.
that's more because salam is coming from assalamu alaikum with the Arabic roots, but it sounds like in the north that sounds like more Malagasy, like the term you just used.
Yeah, the actual words are very Malagasy.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
But in the north, they do this interesting thing where they say, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm in like in Austria or Germany. This is so strange.
Yeah,
Like
that's very Scandinavian. Like in Sweden, I know that people like, yeah, 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 yeah.
the whole time. It was bugging me out. I'm just like, wait a minute. We're all brown saying, yeah, yeah.
But that's the way of the world, you know. Listening to you, you kind of see the world is dynamic, cultures are dynamic, nothing stays the same. Like you said, there was a queen from Hungary. Like there are going to be influences to any culture or region.
Right.
And you know, that's just the dynamic nature of cultures and different societies. So that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Now, I saw some videos that you have posted on one of your trips where the women, um, all I can say is twerking. It's not twerking, but that will give people an idea to understand
Yeah.
what those women are able to do. So tell us about that dance.
Yeah. So that's Kilalaki. And
Kilalaki. Okay.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Um, it yeah, it is just like a hip isolations, and
Uh-huh.
it's something that is done in the South.
Okay. It's
And
mostly from the South.
it's
Okay.
mostly from the South, and people do kilalaki with the kabus, which is like the guitar,
Uh-huh.
traditional Malagasy guitar. I think the thing that makes it special is like three stringed, sometimes one stringed,
Okay.
and people carve them in all kind of interesting shapes, like in a fish shape or in a bus shape or something
Okay.
like that. And what you will notice in the South is well, some people who have a lot of time, they
Mhm.
just start playing by the beach. But
Okay.
by the evening, when people are done doing their work, people come gather and play and sing and dance.
Wow. So
So,
it's very communal. Everyone's a part of it.
right.
You don't have to be a professional,
Mhm.
you know, dancer or singer or whatever, musician. Like you can just take part in it.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly,
mhm,
exactly.
mhm,
But it's super intimidating because even the first time I encountered Kilalaki was some years ago, and I actually spent New Year's in this really tiny town called Belo-sur-Mer. That's
mhm,
on the west, right? It's on the western tip. Okay, just probably like 100, no, 50 kilometers south of the most western tip of Madagascar.
mhm.
So yeah, I ended up to spend New Year's there, and Kilalaki came on, and they're all waiting for me to do this, and I'm like, I go in there doing guinea dance, okay? I'm over there doing sofa and what?
Uh-huh. More arms and kind
My
of
gosh,
yes.
yes. And then I was like, well, okay. And then I started doing sabar, and everybody's fascinated, first of all, because they're like, she's Malagasy, but where did this dance come from?
Mm. And for those who don't know, she's talking about Senegalese and Guinean and like West African dance. So she's
Right.
going back to Madagascar, and this is what she's doing. And they want to see some kilaliki.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
The way that people listen, they had it. So this one girl, man, they wanted me to like have a little competition with her. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna lose, but it's okay. I didn't mind. She had one leg on a guy was holding a beer bottle. She had
Uh-huh.
one leg on the beer bottle and she twerked all the way around it. Her foot was on the top of the bottle. She twerked and walked all the way
Wow.
around on one.
Wow.
And I was giving her sabar, I was giving her arm,
Uh-huh.
even leg. But everybody is always so excited because you're participating in the culture.
Mm. Uh-huh.
That's
Uh-huh.
the most important
Uh-huh.
thing. Like when you eat people's food and when you
Mm.
dance with people and you don't get it right, but that's not the point. The point is
Yes.
you're making an effort to commune with people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's what people really get excited about.
Please say that again because I think that's my message through Zen Wanderlust Travel about travel,
Mm,
that it's not about being perfect. It's not about even when you try to speak the language, people will appreciate you trying. And I
absolutely.
think a Western mindset kind of makes people think everything has to be fully in place. And as you're
That's
saying, it
right.
sounds like whatever you do, for you to just get out in that circle and try it, people will just love it and embrace you.
Absolutely. They will have stories about you for days of like, oh my gosh, did you see her dance? She did such a good dance. She was part
Wow.
of it. Like people
Uh-huh.
get very excited. So yeah, it's not about getting it right. I mean, and I think that's the most special thing about music and dance and food
Mm,
is they are ways that you can show solidarity and appreciation for where it
mhm,
is you're at without
mhm.
having to say a word. The
Yes.
minute that you eat someone's food, the minute that a guitarist comes towards you and you
Mhm.
know that means come dance and you get up and you do a two-step, everybody is going to say you love them and they love
Uh-huh.
you back,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And
right?
you will have made a connection that that's deeper than any words that you all could have sat down and said to each other.
Exactly.
Mhm, mhm,
Exactly.
mhm, mhm,
Completely. You know, and that's and just in general, just not just from Madagascar,
mhm,
but that's something that I seek everywhere it is I go.
mhm.
I want to dance with everybody.
Uh-huh.
Really. I want to experience everybody's food and I want to dance with everybody.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mhm.
People are loving it. Terrence says, "Oh."
Oh, yes, Eric, please come too. Well, so here's the thing. Here's
Mhm,
a project that I'm working on is I was teaching at Medgar Evers CUNY for a while
uh-huh.
and
Which is in Brooklyn, right?
in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh,
And I had this amazing, someone asked me to do a semester abroad in Madagascar. And I was like,
uh-huh,
well, what? You know, what do you want? Ethnobotany? You want this? Like, I was going through the whole list. And someone was like, well, it's a summer program, a summer study abroad.
mm,
So, you know, do you have anything in cultural arts? And I was like, absolutely.
mhm.
So now for next year, August 2020,
Okay.
Medgar Evers students or CUNY students in general are welcome to come to Madagascar and do a dance and cultural intensive. So
Wow.
we're going to look at three different ethnicities,
Uh,
Afar, Vez, and Tandrui, and
uh-huh.
we're going to learn their dances. We're going to learn two dances from each culture, and
Mhm,
we're also going to have site visits. So the basic structure of it will be in the morning you have practicum where a guest artist will come and teach you some basics of Mafali dancers, for
uh-huh.
example, and then lunch, nap. We're gonna still follow that
Okay. Moody, moody.
time off, lunch time
Uh-huh.
off, and then in the early afternoon until the evening, they'll actually have site visits where they'll be able to visit actual Mafali villages, for example, and hear the stories of why people do the dances. Students are going to learn what all the adornment is about. You know,
Mhm,
why does this person get to wear this hat and this cloth, and what do these colors signify? What are
mhm,
these dances for? In what circumstance? I don't promise that we'll actually be able to do the dances in practice. So, for
mhm.
example, if they're learning a wedding dance, maybe no one's getting married. So, we're not
Uh-huh.
gonna have, you know, a fake wedding to do the dance.
Mhm,
It's gonna be explained to them what it is, and the on-site part is they'll actually be able to see the clothing that people wear and the spaces in which it's done in
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
the larger social context for which dance is done, which is not
Yes.
right. It's not like
Which
a
is very African. You know, you don't, everything has a purpose and there's a context, there's a social context. It's not an artificial thing. So as you said, a wedding dance is done at a wedding. If there's a wedding, they'll get to do it.
they'll
If
see
not,
it. Exactly. If
mhm,
not, they'll understand it. They'll understand
mhm,
what the bride wears, what the groom wears, what each side of the family wears, how the
mhm,
processional happens, who says what to whom first, why is
mhm.
water poured, why is this element of food given, all those things. So they'll be learning it about three different cultural groupings in
Okay,
our,
okay.
for the
And
month.
what are the three groups? You said Fan,
Mafali.
Mafari,
Mafali, Vez, who are the water people. They're
uh-huh,
the oceaners,
yes,
and Tandrui.
Fandrui. Okay.
And Tandrui.
Antandrui. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Wow. So
Right.
what if people I see people salivating just listening to you talk about this. What opportunities, so if people are not in the CUNY system, aren't students or studying abroad, what opportunities do they have to travel to Madagascar with you or through you? Um,
Yes.
Go ahead and say that. I'm just going to get my charger real quick. Go ahead and let them know.
Okay. So here's the deal. Never done before. September 2020, from September 2nd to 16, I will actually be on this trip that traces the voyage of enslaved Malagasy people to the New World. This is a history that is seldom talked about and has only recently been unearthed because the story of enslaved Malagasy people has been hush hush because of who was controlling the waters.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, the Dutch were controlling the Dutch West Indies, like the Indian Ocean,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And American ships, in order to go down past the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa,
Uh-huh.
come up towards Madagascar, would have had to pay taxes to the Dutch. And so they didn't want to do that because they were, just dealing with their own freedom and everything like that. So what would happen? This was illegal. What would happen is ships would come down to about Barbados or Jamaica. And
Okay.
they would paint over the name and change the captain's name in the log
Okay.
all the way down, pick up people from Madagascar, and then stop in South Africa. And that's where they would change the registry of the names of the people they picked
Wow.
up.
Uh-huh.
They would go up back to Barbados or Jamaica and repaint the name of the ship to what it was when they left America.
So they would say that, like, give that overview again. So they would change the names in South Africa when they were going through the Good Hope, Cape of Good Hope, and
Yeah.
they would change the names again in Jamaica and Barbados.
Right. So
Uh-huh.
the way the journey goes, they will come from America, they
Mhm.
will go down to Caribbean. In Caribbean, they would change the name of the boat and
Uh-huh.
the captain. From there, they would come down to Madagascar, pick up enslaved Malagasy people, and
Mhm.
then from Madagascar, stop in South Africa to change the names to South African names.
Wow. Wow.
There,
Uh-huh.
then they would go up back to the Caribbean and
Uh-huh.
change the boat and the captain's name. So
Uh-huh.
people docked in back in America, it would look like South African names or Manding names or
Uh-huh.
these names or something like that, but it wouldn't be like the classical Malagasy names, which are like, my name is so classically Malagasy, like the R Rabieri song. It's like RA with a bunch of letters behind it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's
Yes, Rabea song.
there you go.
I
Yay!
did it. But that's a whole different triangular, because with the transatlantic slave trade, we learn about the triangular sort of journey that involved Africa, Europe, and then the New World. But
Right.
now you're telling us about sort of the Caribbean New World, Southern Africa, Madagascar. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole different triangular.
Exactly.
Mhm, mhm,
So yeah, so that has not really been talked about. And even in Madagascar, they're the way that you have like Gorée Island in
mhm,
Senegal, there isn't a real space of commemorating ancestors that were taken.
mhm. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
However, when I went to one of the islands where enslaved Malagasy people were taken from, so this is and the mainland of Madagascar, the way the coral reef is, big ships couldn't come there because obviously there's not enough water. So I had to take, and my ancestors had to take a little boat and take it to this one island where on the other side of this tiny island was the deep blue ocean where
Okay.
ships could dock.
Okay.
So enslaved Malagasy people were taken to this island as a holding space to get
Mhm.
into the ships, right? The big
Uh-huh.
ships. So last year, or was it the year before? I don't remember when. I went there and they do a really nice excursion there because it's really beautiful. It looks like classically like the Maldives or whatever.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Go catch you fish, you eat over there, and people are just hanging out in their bikinis. But I was like, my mission here is a little bit greater. Like, I do want to be a beach bum, but
Uh-huh.
something is calling me. So I go to a place, and I'm paying reverence and homage to the people that were taken from there, and
Mhm.
just kind of talking to my ancestors and my spirits and whatnot. Something inside me propelled me like, oh, go down there. And first of all, this island is uninhabited. Nobody
Mhm.
lives there. It's just they have a bird, which I forget the name of the bird, but I can send you pictures of the bird that is indigenous to that little island.
Okay.
That's what makes it like special and sacred. They were like, oh, it's a sacred island. So something in my spirit was like, walk over there. I'm like, I am not walking over there. There's nobody else around. No. And I'm by myself.
Mhm.
Greater spirit was like, you're never by yourself. What are you talking?
Mm. Uh-huh,
So I
uh-huh.
was like, all right, well, you're pushing me, then you better protect me. And then I felt like, kind of like lightheartedness or laugh. And I was like, okay,
Uh-huh,
cool. So I'm walking, 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 singing every spiritual I know because I'm scared.
uh-huh. But you feel protected. Uh-huh.
I'm like, what if like the birds are like, oh my gosh, she looks like a big cracker. She looks like a big piece of bread. Let's eat her.
Uh-huh,
I mean, I don't know. Your imagination goes wild when you're by yourself in nature, or
uh-huh.
as you think by yourself in nature. So I'm walking, 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 and I come across this, and then they have these egrets, these pelicans,
Yes.
and white over there.
Uh-huh.
One or the other, not both colors. One's
Okay.
white.
Just either uh-huh.
They're all on the top of this tree, and I'm walking to it, and the tree is like making this kind of little canopy cave or something, and I'm right up against it, and I'm like, this is as far I'm going. I'm not going anymore. If this is what you wanted me to see, I'm forever grateful. I don't know why you wanted me to come see it, but cool. Out of the corner of my eye, I look and I see concrete. It's very low to the ground, maybe like a foot and a half off the ground. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is there concrete here? This is very strange. Like, this is an island.
Mm.
Why is there concrete?
Uh-huh.
Natural island, sacred island. So I said, all right, curious me says, what is this? I go walking over there, and basically, because of the items that were there, like candles and things like that, I realized that it's a sacred place. It's a place where people commune. There's something special going on there. So, of
Mhm.
course, whenever you sacred space in Madagascar, as with many sacred spaces around the world, you take off your shoes.
Mhm.
I'm out in the middle of nature. I still take off my shoes. And then I say a prayer. I said, I don't know why I've been called to come over here, but thank you, and let me learn whatever needs to be learned. All that is said and done, I walk back, and now the fishermen have caught the fish. It's being grilled or whatever, and I'm talking to the fisherman, and this guy who is like as worn as leather. He's like old and leathery.
Mhm.
Comes up, he starts talking to the fisherman, but I don't understand his dialect. So I'm just kind of at a loss for it. And he was like, well, what do you walk with? And do you walk with spirits or something like that? And to which my response was, well, doesn't everybody? Like, we have our
Mm.
ancestors literally coursing through our veins. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we walk with a lot. So he kind of chuckled and left me alone. And then I said, well, who is that? And the fisherman was like, oh, he's the guardian of the island. And I said, a guardian of an island? I said, well, does he live here? They said, no, but he comes here every day and he guards and tends to the island. I said,
Uh-huh.
wow, okay.
Uh-huh.
So then I asked the fisherman to ask him, I was like, well, who is up here? Like, what was that concrete that I saw back there? Like, is it a tombstone or something like that? To which the response was, that is where we memorialize the Malagasy person who fought against the people that enslaved Malagasy people.
Wow.
Hmm.
So there was some sort of commemoration and acknowledgement and honoring of
Yeah,
that history. Or
exactly.
it is there.
it is there, but it's not really public.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, I found out that this year they actually paved on the little sacred island, and people who are really from there are a little bit upset about this. They paved a road to, not a road, but a little pathway to
Mm.
get to where that commemoration site is.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
So have you taken people there?
no, I haven't. Well, okay, so this is uh speaking of the reef, what is the health of the reef? Wait, Taryn, clarify that, and I'll be happy to answer that. I have not yet taken people, but this is the thing. September 2020,
Mhm.
I'm taking people on a journey to discover what enslaved Malagasy people, what pathways they took to get to
Uh-huh.
the New World. This
Wow.
is never done before,
Uh-huh.
not even with historians in
Okay.
Madagascar,
Mhm.
at all. And I just happened to find the person who could put me in touch with people within the villages who can tell you stories of their great grandparents being,
Mhm.
and what that
This
was.
has to be documented, Mubi. Oh my goodness.
Definitely, definitely.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
the next time I go,
Mhm.
I have to hire a photographer and
Uh-huh.
a videographer.
Videographer and everything. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's gonna be too much for me to be trying to FaceTime and, accommodate for people and explain
Yeah.
what's going on. So I said, so that's what's happening in September, and we're gonna get the oral histories not just from one place, but about two different places in the south
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
Madagascar.
So
Yeah.
are people, you're going to give us your email address, because I feel like um this is sort of, this could be the trip of a lifetime. I always tell people that
Mm,
travel in general is transformative. Travel is what you make it, but there are certain trips. Everyone has that certain trip for them that
mm,
kind of represents like a transformation, a personal
right.
transformation. And it sounds like you are curating something that for some people could be that. Like maybe people have seen other slave commemorations, or maybe they haven't, but this sounds like something that is completely new, and hasn't, not new in terms of it just existing, but new in terms of people not really experiencing it. So if anyone could be a part of it, I would say, like, if you can, put this on your bucket list. If you feel like you're looking for something transformative in terms of travel, this certainly sounds like it, because you have the natural, like you said, the flora and the fauna, you have the culture, but then to have the history and it's almost like a metaphysical connection. Um,
Mhm.
I think that would be powerful. So are you open for people, like, they can email you or look on your
Yeah,
website?
please. I need to update my website, but you can email me and I'll put the email in the chat. But basically, it's going to be September 2nd to 16th. And when I tell you I curate these things down to the T,
Mhm.
September 2nd is a full moon. September 17th is a new moon. So you leave on a full moon, you come back. The trip ends on the 16th, but the way that the time zones go, if you leave on the 16th, you get back on the 17th, sometimes even on the 16th, meaning you get to start your rhythm back in your life on a new moon,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And that trip, I have an early bird special for it. So
Mhm.
put your deposit down by December 1st. The entire trip, dinner and breakfast included, is going to be $21.99.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna put this. The cost if you register early bird
Right.
is what?
21.99.
Okay. And
Mhm.
what is that? Is there a numerical significance? Like, that's a very unique number.
This not particularly. I haven't looked at it yet, but let's see what happens when we add them up. 2 plus 1, 3 plus 9, 12. 1 plus 2, 3. 3 plus 9, 12. 1 plus 2, 3. So I guess it's 3.
Mhm.
It adds up to 3.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I'm super, super excited about it. And It's going to be amazing. Like, I'm going to learn things too, because some of the oral historians, I haven't talked to all of them. I've talked to some of them, and
Okay.
what I'm already learning is just has completely blown my mind. So I am a gazillion% excited about this, and just and how I do trips. So like Nicole was saying in the beginning, I don't do cookie cutter trips.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that because I'm also going on these trips, and I also want to continue to learn about
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Madagascar. So in
Mm-hmm.
my quest for things that are interesting to me, I say, oh my gosh, we should do a trip about this.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So after 2020, in 2021 is going to be a trip. This is like, I haven't talked
Ready.
about this at all. This is breaking news.
Okay. Hold on. Let me say, what is it? Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. We need the neon lights. Here, I'll give you
Yes.
flashing neon. um,
Okay.
in 2021, we are going to do a tour of the mermaid shrines in Madagascar.
So what are the mermaid shrines?
Well, there's a few, and I'm not going to talk too much
Okay.
about it.
Uh-huh.
Much in the same way as there's Oshun in the Yoruba culture. Obviously, we're an island, so we have mermaids all over the place. We'll actually get to talk to people who are part of that culture, and people don't talk about it in Madagascar. They really don't, because
And
the
that's like throughout Africa, you have to kind of, it's not common conversation. You have to sit with the elders. And yes, it's a trust, and it's not just something that's freely talked about, right?
exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I'm in touch with people who decided that, okay, there's something that we particularly like about you, so sure. And I said, well, it's not only going to be me. I'm going to be bringing people respectfully that want to visit
Uh-huh.
the different mermaid shrines. They said, okay, no problem. I said, really? They said, yeah, no problem. I said,
Uh-huh.
all right,
Uh-huh.
cool.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So yeah, so all these things, most of the time when you see tourism in Madagascar, it's just flora and fauna.
Uh-huh.
And this kind of breaks away from that, because I think there's more to Madagascar than just that, but it's also
Mhm.
an intrinsic part of Madagascar,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
in so much as we'll be, if you do a tour to Senegal to see
Mhm.
Gorée, you're not spending 15 days in Gorée. You're
No, you're
spending
immersing yourself in culture and language and day-to-day life, and you're connecting with different, when I've taken people, we were in small villages, and this was more of a global health theme, but we were integrated into the small health centers to
Mhm.
understand both indigenous healing, but also some of the challenges that the health system faced. But it was like to give you a holistic view, not just like you
Right,
get to go see one historical thing. So
and that's
your
it.
your journeys just sound, the word that keeps coming to mind is integrative and holistic.
Mm.
You're looking at, and it's not for the person that is just there for the passport stamps and the Instagram
No, it's
selfie.
not.
It's not about that. Mhm.
No, and some of those folks have contacted me.
Mm.
I'd be happy to work with people, but people just get very frustrated with me because they want to do everything. This millennials, I love you all, but really, you did not ask me for $900 and you want to do, $3,000 worth of stuff. It doesn't work that way. And
Uh-huh.
just coming to Madagascar to take a snapshot, I'm saying come to Madagascar,
Uh-huh.
obviously, but not just, how some people might just go to Paris and take a picture of a
I'm at the Eiffel Tower. Uh-huh.
that's it. Yeah, right. There's so much going on in Paris that's
Uh-huh.
very interesting. Like, what about the African neighborhoods in
Mm.
Paris and the marketplaces?
Yes, yes.
About the big flea market where my sister, she lives in Paris. She grew up
Uh-huh.
in Paris. She would send me, she'd be like, come on, let's do a Louis Vuitton business. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, in this market in Paris, you can get Louis Vuitton for real jackets for like $50. She's like, I'll send them to you and then we'll resell them. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a lot.
Uh-huh.
think so.
But
You
you're like, but at least experiencing that hustle and like that entrepreneurial like spirit and the real life, right?
Right, exactly. And that, and right. And that's the thing that's interesting to me. Like, I love, at the same time that I love the real lifeness, there are certain things I have to be honest about with myself. I can do without it. For
Mhm,
example, like hot water. I can do
mhm,
without hot water.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
90, it's 99 degrees outside. But in the south of Madagascar, it's actually like a desert. So
Uh-huh.
it's cooler at
In the
night.
morning and at night. Uh-huh.
Exactly. That's why in some of my lives I was still wearing shawl and everything like that because it's
Mhm.
cooler in the evening. So in those moments, I want my hot water. In the evenings, I want my Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I feel like I've been able to strike a balance between my creature comforts and
Mhm.
also experiencing real life.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because sometimes people tell me I want to experience real Madagascar, and I'm like, well, so then I set this whole itinerary where they're taking local buses,
Mhm.
taxis, and there's like a row for 5 seats, and 8 people are sitting there, plus chicken, plus goat on the top of the on top of the car. And then when I describe it to them, they're like, no, I don't want to do
Not
that.
that Madagascar, the other real Madagascar.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, so
Uh-huh.
which part do you want to see? Like, so I've had to construct actually a list of some of the amenities that people want so that I
Mm.
don't get confused when people say like real Madagascar. Like, are you
Uh-huh.
talking like 22-year-old Peace Corps Madagascar?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about young professional hot water and Wi-Fi
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Madagascar? You know?
Well, that's so smart because what I find is you have to set the stage for people. People will come with an idea, which could be an illusion or a delusion of what they want, but you kind of have to like structure it for them, and they'll be happy. Like you could say, "This is our off the beaten path package," or "This is like you said, this is our yuppie or whatever." Our
Our backpackers, our Peace Corps backpackers, our
Yes, or our professional package, those of you
right,
who get up
exactly.
in the arms if you can't have hot water, which,
Right, and then
those of us who
monogram
yeah,
towel package. There's that
yes,
one too. I need
exactly.
my monogram towels and soap. I got that for you.
Yes.
Mimosas, I got that for you too.
So, yeah, people would be I mean, I think you're just doing such an amazing job of putting, the different faces of the real Madagascar on the map,
Mm,
and I think with travel to any place, people, as long as they can understand that there's so much diversity, I think they're on the right track, right? Like, so
right.
you just described, there's so many different aspects of life in Madagascar. So, yeah, I think that's really amazing. We have just a few more minutes. I think we have to do a part two. I
Yes,
really
please.
do.
Yes, yes. Yay.
Yes, we're gonna do a part two, and if anyone has questions, I did want to Taryn, there are a lot of questions here. Let's see. She said you asked her to clarify about the coral reef, and she said, okay, here it is. Is the reef?
Is the reef still a food habitat for? Absolutely. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it depends on where in Madagascar, but on the western coast of Madagascar, in a town that's kind of hard to get to. So this is for people who are really into adventure because you will be in a car for like 3 days just to get here. But it's not 3 days. I'm exaggerating, like 2 days. That's
Mhm.
an exaggeration. Called Andavadok is amongst the world's most rich and diverse marine life.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And so just further south of that, 2 days, I don't know how many kilometers, I need to look that up, but I
Okay.
know it's gonna be 2 days. Uh, 2 days south of that is a very, very healthy marine life. But now here's part of the part that I don't always like to talk about because it makes me really sad when I think
Mm,
about it. Um,
mm,
like all those apocalyptic movies about how there's like not going to be any more nature and you see like all you see is a city and you see like one little plant growing.
uh-huh.
Maybe we're coming to that. I don't know.
Mm,
But for
mhm,
example, in Madagascar, the coral reefs are they're being used up, I guess, because big ships, I'm going to call the names,
mm,
from China are
Uh-huh.
coming and harvesting everything from there. The octopus, the lobster, the crab,
Um,
the shrimp, the sea cucumbers.
mhm.
There's like hardly, they actually in this one area had to take the last few remaining sea cucumbers and like grow them indoors, like in a controlled, not indoors, but in a controlled environment, and then put
Uh-huh.
them back in the ocean. And still there's not enough, like in the
Uh-huh.
bigger coral reef ocean, because apparently eating sea cucumber got to be a delicacy for Chinese people. So then they were getting it. So I ask myself when I go to Chinatown, in New York City,
Mhm.
I'm like, is this from
From
Madagascar?
Madagascar. Wow,
Right.
interesting.
Then that talks about the global market and
Mhm.
everything like that too. So there's things like that that are happening all over the place in Madagascar. Like of our rainforest, there's only, even though it looks lush on pictures and everything, we only have about 15% of it left,
Okay. Wow.
due to deforestation.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
have rosewood in Madagascar, which has been it's been deemed illegal to cut it down because
Uh-huh.
like it's becoming extinct. It's a national heritage that
Mm.
only comes from Madagascar. But Chinese companies are still coming in and cutting it down. And
Uh-huh.
it's the same thing with artisanal markets. Like for example, cow horn.
Mhm.
Before it used to be so many different artisans using cow horn. I mean, it's still fairly readily available, but what's been happening is that Chinese people will come and take the raw material and leave what they're not using for
Mhm.
Malagasy artisans who have
Mhm.
lived with it their whole life.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's happening with leather, it's happening with crocodiles, it's happening with the minerals. And so in saying that, because I don't like to just say depressing stuff and not have some sort of,
Uh-huh.
but what we can do is we can invest. By investing in Africa, we
Uh-huh.
we're not going to stop it, but at least you yourself as a business person will be
Mhm.
able to sustain yourself in a fair trade way, and also
Mhm.
be able to help African families in the diaspora sustain themselves.
Yes, yes.
So the more that we can
So if this is ethical, sustainable business practices that would
Mhm.
be good for the planet as well as good for individual families and the person doing the investing.
Exactly,
Mhm, mhm,
absolutely. So
mhm,
360, we're all benefiting. So
mhm.
everybody who's always talking about, what we can do to empower the Black community, the Brown community, we need to look at that on a global scale,
Uh-huh,
not only
uh-huh.
in our neighborhoods. If your business allows for you to expand in that way, by all means, come talk to me and we'll see what we can do.
Please do. I'm going to put what's your email address? I'm going to put it in the other
Info
comment.
Madagascar experience. Am I
I'm
in
going to,
private chat? Oh no, let me go to live comments. Oh my God, look.
and there's another comment. Someone said,
Do I find colorism to be a problem in Madagascar? Well, as I had prefaced before, it really depends on where. And even within 150-kilometer radius, you can find a place where there's a problem and a place where there's not a problem.
mhm, mhm,
It's much like the same story with Dominican Republic and Haiti,
mhm, mhm,
where there's all this like light skin and dark skin kind of story. What I will say is this much. Once you get out of the capital, which is, I don't spend as much time in the capital, because it's very hilly, which is,
mhm.
that's not the problem. The problem is there are over 1,000% more cars in Madagascar than there were when those roads were being built.
Mhm, mhm,
So if it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 at night, where there's nobody on the road, you can get from where you need to in 10 minutes.
mhm, mhm. But
Not
if it's, uh-huh.
4 hours.
Wow.
It's
And tell us the name of the capital again. You told me. I wrote Antan. Let me see if I can. Antananarive.
yes, yes, that's right.
So,
Girl,
but you say it the right way. Say it the right
you're
way.
Antananarivo. You're
Okay.
good because sometimes, when I have to learn other, this is confession on my part.
Mhm.
When I have to learn other languages, I'm so frustrated that I have to do it, and I'm just doing it so that I can communicate with people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody else in my family speaks like 4 or 5 different languages.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm the only one that's like, okay, I have a mastery of English. I speak French
Uh-huh.
well. And then, you know, I'm learning Malagasy. Now I can speak to everybody. I just need to now learn how to write and I can read it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
You're way ahead of 95% of people in the United States of America. So
yeah, but in terms of the world, it's like,
yes, yes.
oh, you only speak 3 languages?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Look at my husband. He speaks 5 languages, and I'm like, I'm good at picking up greetings and I've gotten rid of all shame. So if I go
Right.
somewhere, I try to talk and I pick up things and I
Right.
communicate because I just say, you know what, I'm gonna sound crazy anyway, so just go ahead and do it.
Go for it and be appreciated for having tried,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's one
Exactly,
thing
because
that
then people
I've
see where
learned.
your
Yeah.
intention is when you try.
But so that question about the colorism. So I think she answered it. I think we definitely have to do a part 2. We might get into specifics about some of so you gave a background and people now have an understanding of Madagascar. We'll get into some specifics.
Right.
We're going to put your email and website into the chat on both the Facebook broadcast as well as the YouTube one. So
Right.
it will be there permanently. You can get in touch with Miyubi, and you can, as a recap for those of you who might have joined a little late, we went through everything that you can think of, but one of the key takeaways are that, travel is part of a diasporic experience, especially for people of African descent, for everybody. But if we're talking about people of African descent and
Mhm.
understanding more fully your identity,
Right.
and there are places that people never even thought of as being part of the diasporic, community. And Matt, you have opened our eyes to Madagascar's place in that.
Mhm.
Also, in the beginning, Taryn wrote that her takeaway was that redefining luxury, and
Mhm.
Madagascar luxury may not be the 5-star hotel or whatever, even though you could probably get that. But the part
Yeah.
of the luxury is like the connection to nature and to community and to people and to
Mhm.
culture.
Right. And to your
Really,
health, you
and
know.
to your health. Yes.
Exactly. You know, and that is absolutely foundational because
Mhm.
without that, we can't do anything. And then
Mhm.
you'll see it, it's really embedded within Malagasy culture. It's like even you go in the congested city, you will see people there with parsley juices. They have their blenders out, and then they have
Oh,
inside these jars filled with water, the different kind of blends that you can make. And then you just point, I want that one. And
mhm.
it for you right there. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way for
Yeah.
people because people are not using, especially in the city.
Mhm.
It's a city
Like a travel health thing. You kind of
congested.
have to be
Yeah,
careful of street food.
water.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
On the other hand, what I will say though is I don't eat street food in the city.
Mhm.
When I'm out in the bush where there's like no kind of pollution, like it is so crispy clean, I
Uh-huh.
eat everything there.
Wow.
People will be frying stuff and I get picky about tiny little things. Like I'm looking at this lady's, my nails are not to talk about, but look closely, there's no dirt underneath
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
manicure that's peeling. Sometimes even people's nails will look like really suspect, but I'm like, wait a minute. All she did was clean the fish from the water. I saw
Mhm.
her do it and put it on the skillet, put it on
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
grill. Okay,
Uh-huh.
it's safe to eat. Like what could actually be in there that's going to harm me? And and I have actually some travel tips and tricks of what you can do to not have a stomach ache. But
Mhm.
I travel everywhere and I never get stomach ache. And so
Okay.
maybe we'll save that one
For
for
the next,
time.
yes, yes. We're going to
Something
get
I
into
do.
detailed practical things that you need to do for travel in general and for travel to Madagascar. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think we could try to schedule that for next month or something. So please, everybody,
Let's
be
do
on
next
the
month.
lookout.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Because if you don't know, Miyubi just came back a few days ago from Madagascar.
Yeah.
And if you're just joining, she has a connection with Medgar Evers College to do a study abroad program. She has a trip planned for the general public that you can get in contact with her about for September 2020.
Yes.
And then another trip that there's going to be future ones, but the one that she just, we were the first to hear about it
Yes.
on this broadcast is a mermaid shrine tour in 2021. So we
Exactly.
will get into all of that on the next broadcast. I mean, this has just been so illuminating. And, you know, one of the things I love about travel and connecting with people from all of the world over the world and other travelers is you see the similarities. You see how we're so
Mhm.
connected. And that gives me hope for humanity. You turn on the news, you see, oh, this, we don't like this racism, sexism, this, but you see at the end how connected we are. There was so much that you talked about that I could relate to in terms of the Cape Verdean experience, which
Mhm.
my grandfather was born in on the island of Brava in the Cape Verde Islands, which is sort of a group of islands again off the coast of
Mhm.
Africa, off the coast of West Africa, that
Mhm.
has this interesting colonial history, previously uninhabited,
Wow.
but then used as the Portuguese as sort of a stopping point for the transatlantic slave trade,
Mm.
and first became inhabited in the 1400s. And so the population there are 10 separate islands. So the main
Wow.
language is Creole, but there's so many different dialects and there's so much diversity and
Right.
the phenotype in terms
Right.
of the culture of each island.
Uh-huh.
And then also the Cape Verdean diaspora, which is throughout in Portugal,
Mm.
in France, but in the US and New England. Um,
Mhm.
there are more Cape Verdeans outside of Cabo Verde than there are living on the island. So and then when you get into a diaspora, that sort of changes the culture a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just been fascinating listening to you
Wow.
because I learn and then I can also relate. And I
Right.
think that's the power of travel. And I would hope that
Mhm.
even if people don't get to go to one of your trips soon, that just hearing you talk about it, subscribe to her. Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram as Madagascar Experience, and
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
So we're gonna put all of that down, kind of just follow her. So maybe you can't go in 2020, you can't go in 2021. You know, maybe she's gonna announce her next trip soon, but
Yeah,
you can
every year there's gonna be a
through
different
her.
kind of trip. That
Yeah.
that's one thing that a commitment that I'm making now is that every
Okay.
single year I'm doing a trip, and because I'm interested in a lot of different things, it's
Uh-huh.
always gonna be different. It
Okay.
probably is gonna take a while for even the same like 10-year cycle before the same trip that I.
Exactly. Okay.
That's not to say that other people, if you want to do your own personalized one, or you want me to curate one for your group, like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
whatever the group may be, whether it's like a old high school reunion and we
Mhm.
like to travel, whether it's whatever it is, even the initiatives that you have with like health, if you wanted to see
Mhm.
how things are going on with women and women's health, or um,
Mhm.
what do
Mhm.
you call
Mhm.
it, midwives.
Yes.
Whatever it is, I'm always interested in learning more. There's nothing more stale to me than just doing the same trip over and over
Over and
and
over.
over again. It's just like that wouldn't be, and I think that's what makes what I'm doing different from what other tour operators are
It is. You
doing.
know, I haven't really run into, I'm not going to say none exists anywhere on earth, but I have not run into anyone that puts so much care and personal connection into what they're offering because you are giving to other people what you would give to yourself. So you're going to learn, and so they're going to get that same experience. And I think that's
Exactly.
what's very powerful. So we're
Exactly.
going to put
And the
all
thing is,
your
I do it
contact.
first.
You
Let
said
me
what?
I said, the thing is, I do it first. That will be
Yes.
another part of my disclaimer. I would not ever offer anybody something that I didn't already do.
Okay. Okay.
So most
Perfect.
of the time, I'll go 1 year, and then maybe a year, 2 years later, I'll offer the trip.
So
What?
we have people are just I'm just going to post some of the comments. There's too many wonderful information.
Yay! How do I type? I only see private chat for me. How do I get to type
Um
into?
okay, can you type something and then I'll see. I don't know why it's not.
Oh, I have two bars. I have private chat and live comments.
Okay, can you cut? type into the live comments?
I can't. I don't even know where. It's not a. I don't see a blank
Okay. Do
area.
a private chat. I don't know. Let's see.
You want me to do private chat and then
Yeah, and maybe it'll show up for me and then I can put it up.
okay. .org Madagascar experience. It's so long.
Mm-hmm.
.org and then the email is info. Of course,
Okay,
you
I'm
can go
seeing it. I'm going
internally.
to, I don't know why it's not letting you, but I'm going to, I see it coming up. All
Info.
right. We're putting everything here for you all so you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And then, you can, the phone numbers are there if you, I'm just going to put, for real estate, I was having issues like, should I put my real phone number? But then it's like, you know what? Just understand that even though it seems like your phone number is personal, it's like not, it's
it
all.
never is. Nothing is really personal. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just putting my, phone number because I also use that for real estate. If people wanna call,
Okay.
find out more, set up a consultation, take up, if you know that, oh, my sister and I travel all over the place and we would like to go in 3 years. And based on what you've said, this is kind of what we would like to do. I can, tailor it to your needs. The best, and then if you like group travel, that's always the best because you'll get the best rates and you'll have other people on which to use as a soundboard for the experience.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know?
Yes, and people, I talk about that just to kind of plug my online travel master course. It kind of
Oh.
it's called Travel and Culture A to Z, and it's sort
Mhm.
of a preparation for people who are going to do a trip such as to Madagascar, helping you to dot all your I's and cross all your T's, do some self-reflection and examination and preparation to get that transformative travel experience. But so some of that is also understanding your travel personality. Some of us are
Mhm.
solo travelers, some of us are group travelers. So kind of knowing where you tend to thrive the best when it comes to
Mhm.
travel. And it sounds like you're able to do it all. So if someone wants to have a curated individual experience or some kind of special, event, or if it's just a group of people that decided, you know what, we've done all you can do with travel. Let's go to Madagascar. That you can help them with all of that.
Absolutely. Yoga retreats, there's people speaking to me about doing yoga retreats and such. So absolutely.
So I put
Absolutely.
everything you have in www.madagascarexperience.org, email info@madagascarexperience.org, phone number here 703-470-0447. Oh, you still have your Virginia. We first met in DC and doing African dance and just being with our mentor, Mama Kariatu, eating, cooking. And so, yeah, I recognize the 703. I got rid of my
Yeah.
771.
And I think this is just so interesting because it, African dance, it really speaks to the unity within the diasporan
Mhm,
experience, right?
mhm,
Because
mhm,
here you have a travel company, I have a travel company,
mhm,
and we
mhm.
met on the dance floor.
Yes.
And that's another thing that I've always found interesting about the African dance floor in America is that there's a certain democracy in it. There are
Mm.
people who are like students struggling to make it,
Uh-huh.
they're on the dance floor. There's people who, like the woman who runs the African Film Festival in New York, she's
Oh.
dancing over. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Uh-huh. You
All
have
these
the,
very
yes.
people, publishers, people who are working in publishing houses,
Mhm,
people
mhm,
who are, really good friends with master chefs and
mhm, mhm,
just
mhm.
it's really amazing the eclecticism. And here we go back again with this idea of diversity,
Yes,
but
yes,
how
yes.
there's like some sort of unifying thing. There's like a jet. Well, in our case, it was dance.
Mhm,
Kind
mhm.
of pulls it back together.
And
Together.
appreciation for culture. Yes, yes. So I
Right.
think we will end on that, just hoping that my goal is to always have people appreciate diversity. I think
Mm,
diversity has kind of gotten a bad rap these days. I don't know what's going on. People are like, wanting to go into their little silos. And,
right.
I feel like you really miss out. If I didn't connect and see you as a sister or as a person that I wanted to know, look what I would be missing out on is the whole wealth of information and experience. So please, everybody, don't be afraid of diversity.
Celebrate it.
Yes, celebrate it. We are supposed to, and there's a brother that he's either people are trying to connect you guys. His name is Zumbi Soweto. Have
Yes.
you guys connected or we're people? I don't know if he's active on social media, but everyone, even on this video, someone when I announced it, someone tagged him. So you guys have to get connected.
Together. Right.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing too. This is another little tangential
Mhm.
thing is buying land in Madagascar. If you
Mm,
want to buy land in Madagascar, come talk to me.
okay.
We are, there's something in the works about creating an eco village.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So
There.
this is even for the people who maybe can't take the journey, who aren't necessarily ready to go. It sounds like there are investment, business, land opportunities. So everyone, please get in touch with Sister Miyubi. I'm going to say her last name one more time. I'm practicing. Um, Raba Yarason.
Rabe
Rabe
a
A
rison.
Rison.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like kind of knowing where to put the emphasis on which
Syllable.
syllable. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this has been such a pleasure for me, and thank you all for tuning in. If
Yeah.
you are
Thank
watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is the kind of travel and culture content that I try to bring. It's not just, kind of the typical stuff. It's like really trying to introduce you to people and experiences that
you.
can enrich your life. And I think that even if you never step foot in Madagascar, hopefully just by listening and getting to know me, you have been enriched by that. So please
Yay.
subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up if you're on Facebook, like our page. You can also go to zenwanderlust.com, www.zenwanderlust.com, to find out more about what we do there and the travel and culture A to Z online masterclass. So thank you once again, Miyubi, and we are going to do a part 2, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Okay.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. What you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Oh,
And
thank
to be
you.
able to help people figure out how to travel and to get comfortable with the idea of traveling
Yes,
outside
yes.
of America is amazing.
Yeah, and I think it will kind of alleviate a lot of this stress, of what's going on in the country and all the, like you said, the negative stuff. I
Right.
think once you get outside of your zone and what you're used to, that'll kind of lift some of that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And just being aware of what some of the issues are, because there's no place that doesn't have issues.
Yes,
So,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
so what are the issues so that I know what they are and I know how to navigate them? Mm,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Well, thank you all so much, and look for part 2. Everybody said bye-bye. That's fun. Other people
Yay!
said that they're working on it now. Okay, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Goodbye.
Yay, bye.